The salt air of the Maldives clung to Sabrina's skin long after the plane lifted off from Malé. She sat in 14A, window seat, staring at the turquoise water shrinking beneath her until it was nothing more than a memory pressed between clouds. In her lap lay a manila envelope, thick, official, the kind that ends things. Inside were divorce papers, already signed by her husband of 72 hours. She had met Ethan Caldwell 2 years earlier at a rooftop bar in Manhattan. He was 31, heir to a Connecticut-based logistics empire, the sort of man who ordered whiskey neat and laughed like he owned the room. Sabrina was 28, a graphic designer from a fading steel town in Pennsylvania, in the city on a freelance gig. She wore a thrift store blazer and carried a portfolio that smelled faintly of printer ink. Their first conversation lasted until the bar closed. Ethan told her about private jets and yacht clubs. Sabrina told him about her mother's diner and the way snow sounded when it fell on rusted swing sets. He called her small-town magic. She called him impossible. 6 months later he proposed on the High Line at sunset, ring box open like a dare. She said yes because love, at 28, still felt like a lottery ticket you couldn't afford to throw away. Now, on the flight home, she read the papers again. The grounds were simple, irreconcilable differences. A yellow post-it was stuck to the top page in Ethan's handwriting. Told the guys I could marry the waitress type and bail in under a week. You lasted 3 days longer. Bets paid. Thanks for playing, small town. Below the note, in smaller print, $10,000 to the winner. Sabrina folded the post-it into a tiny square and tucked it into her bra, right against her heart. She didn't cry. She had used up her tears somewhere over the Indian Ocean. Back in Brooklyn, she moved into a studio the size of a walk-in closet. The radiator clanked like a dying animal. Her mother sent care packages, pierogies frozen in Ziplocs, a note that said God doesn't close a door without opening a window, honey. Sabrina ate the pierogies cold and left the note on the windowsill where pigeons shat on it daily. She kept designing. Logos for vegan bakeries, album art for indie bands nobody would remember. The money barely covered rent and the subway. At night she walked the promenade, watching Manhattan glitter like a promise it never intended to keep. One Thursday in October, she found herself in a midtown bar she used to visit with Ethan. Same velvet booths, same jazz trio. She ordered a whiskey neat out of habit. The bartender slid it over. On the house, he said. You look like you need it. She almost laughed. Need was a mild word for the hollow space where her future used to live. Across the room, a woman in a charcoal suit was giving a presentation to a table of venture capitalists. Her voice carried, low, steady, the kind that made people lean in. Sabrina recognized the cadence before she recognized the face. It was Mia Delgado, her college roommate from Penn State. Mia had always been the one with spreadsheets for fun. Now she wore a watch that cost more than Sabrina's annual salary. Mia spotted her, excused herself, and crossed the room. Sabrina freaking Russo, she said, hugging her so hard the whiskey sloshed. You vanished after graduation. They talked until the bar emptied. Sabrina told the truth, every ugly detail. Mia listened without flinching. When Sabrina finished, Mia slid a business card across the table. I run a seed fund for women-led startups. You design. I fund. Let's build something that outlives assholes. Sabrina stared at the card. Delgado Ventures. The letters looked like they were carved from ice. I don't have an idea, she said. You will, Mia replied. Ideas are just scars that haven't healed yet. Winter came early. Sabrina's portfolio grew thicker, darker, logos with jagged edges, color palettes that bruised. She stopped saying yes to every gig and started saying no to the ones that felt like apologies. In January, she sketched a woman rising from ashes, wings made of broken glass. The tagline wrote itself, Revenant. She showed Mia over coffee in a Soho cafe that smelled of burnt sugar. Mia didn't blink. Branding for women who've been burned, she said. Merch, courses, community. I'll seed it. You build it. They shook on it in the snow outside, breath fogging between them like a contract. Revenant launched in April. First product, a black hoodie with the glass-winged woman on the back. Pre-orders sold out in 6 hours. Sabrina worked from her studio, laptop balanced on a stack of unpaid bills. She hired 2 freelancers, both divorcees, both furious. They built a website that looked like a bruise healing into a scar. By July, Revenant had a warehouse in Red Hook and a waitlist of 40,000. Sabrina's face appeared in Forbes under 30. The headline called her the designer who turned Heartbreak into a movement. She read it in a grocery line and laughed so hard the cashier asked if she was okay. She was better than okay. She was becoming. Ethan saw the article in his corner office overlooking the Hudson. He had gained 15 pounds and lost 2 girlfriends since the Maldives. The bet money was gone to Vegas, bottle service, a watch he never wore. His friends still called him Caldwell the Closer, but the nickname tasted stale. He scrolled Sabrina's Instagram. 1.2 million followers. Photos of women wearing Revenant hoodies in courtrooms, at marathons, on first dates after divorce. The comments were a chorus, "Thank you for seeing us." He closed the app and opened the divorce decree again. He had kept it in a drawer like a trophy. Now it felt like evidence. The invitation arrived in September. Thick cream cardstock, gold foil. Revenant presents, the Phoenix Gala. Metropolitan Museum of Art. Black tie. Wings optional. Ethan's name was on the list because Mia Delgado had a sense of humor sharper than switchblades. He almost didn't go. Then he did. The Met's Great Hall was transformed. Chandeliers dimmed to embers. Projections of glass wings shimmered across marble. Women in gowns the color of midnight and Merlot moved like a tide. Ethan wore the same tux from his wedding. It pinched at the shoulders now. He clutched a whiskey he didn't drink. At 9:17 p.m., the lights dropped. A single spotlight hit the top of the grand staircase. Sabrina descended. Her gown was liquid obsidian, slit to the thigh. The bodice was embroidered with tiny shards of mirror, each catching the light, throwing it back like shrapnel. Her hair was longer, streaked with silver that hadn't been there a year ago. She wore no jewelry except a thin band on her right hand. The wedding ring was gone. The crowd parted. Cameras flashed. Ethan's glass slipped from his fingers and shattered. Sabrina reached the podium. Her voice didn't waver. 1 year ago, she began, "A man handed me divorce papers on our honeymoon. He said I was a bet. $10,000 to prove he could marry beneath him and walk away clean." A murmur rippled through the room. Ethan felt every eye turn, then turn away. "He thought I would disappear," she continued. "Instead, I built this." She gestured to the hall, the wings, the women. Revenant isn't revenge. It's resurrection. Every hoodie sold funds a scholarship. Every course taught rebuilds a life. And every story shared, her eyes found Ethan's across the room, steady as a sniper's, reminds us that the fire that burns us can also forge us. Applause thundered. Ethan's knees buckled. He caught himself on a column, breath ragged. Sabrina stepped down. The crowd swallowed her. Later, in the Temple of Dender, she found him alone by the reflecting pool. Moonlight fractured across the water. "You came," she said. "I had to see if it was real." His voice cracked. "Sabrina, I don't." She held up a hand. "There's nothing left to say that hasn't already been printed on a hoodie." He looked at her, really looked. The girl from the rooftop bar was gone. In her place stood a woman who had learned to weaponize her wounds. "I was cruel," he whispered. "You were small," she corrected. "There's a difference." She reached into a hidden pocket and pulled out the yellow post-it, creased and soft from a year against her skin. She held it between them. "This was your wager," she said. "Watch what I did with the ashes." She let it go. The post-it fluttered, caught an updraft, and landed on the water. It floated for a moment, then sank. Ethan watched it disappear. When he looked up, she was already walking away, mirrors on her dress flashing like a warning. The gala raised $2.3 million. Revenant opened its first brick-and-mortar in Soho the following spring. Sabrina hired her mother to run the cafe inside, pierogies on the menu, extra sour cream. Ethan sold his stake in the family business and moved to Vermont. He taught logistics at a community college, coached Little League, and never told anyone about the bet. Some nights he Googled Revenant and read the new testimonials. They all sounded like Sabrina. She never looked back. Not once. But every year, on the anniversary of the Maldives, she sent an unmarked package to an anonymous P.O. box in Connecticut. Inside, a single black feather and a note in her handwriting. "The wings were never yours to clip.